Hello, and welcome to my special behind-the-scenes video for my Resident Evil team-up project. With this one, my initial idea was to present it, having the characters all working together, individually solving different parts of the game, creating my own unique scenarios involving characters that never even meet in the original game. And I know that editing can be a bit of a chore to some people, but for me, it's one of the bits I like the most. Especially when I get to be creative. When I did my Sims LP, that involved an insane amount of editing. Making up a story, planning every single shot, putting it together, adding green screen shots, writing music. And because of all that work, I still regard it as one of my favourite projects. Later, I decided to do the first Resident Evil game, but Chris Redfield couldn't be bothered to turn up for my project, so Barry had to step in. I thought I made it pretty clear how I made this one, but I have since spoken to people that thought I was just playing a mod. It was actually the result of swapping Chris Redfield's character model for Barry and then doing loads of audio editing to make up my own dialogue. I used the uncensored FMV sequences and then even added things like the second tyrant exclusive to the Sega version of the game. Sadly, I'm not a game modder. I deal with audio and video editing. So if I'm going to put so much time into editing my projects, I don't want people thinking I'm just playing a mod.
Oh my God! Let me take care of this.
This team-up LP was going to be a lot more ambitious than the Barry one, so I decided to make a behind-the-scenes video to show off how I put it all together. So here we are, as Chris Redfield. This is a scene that normally takes place between Jill and Barry. But this time, it's Chris and Barry, and Chris is about to get squished.
Stay away from the doors. I'm gonna kick this door down.
I have spliced up dialogue there, and all of these scenes have been cut together from different playthroughs of the game. Normally, Jill will be standing right there, but I've masked that section of the screen.
Hurry! This way!
And so the legend that is Barry saves Chris.
That was close. You were almost a Chris sandwich.
And there's the payoff. Now, Chris is standing here. He would normally never have this destroyed section of door, because in Chris's playthrough, no one saves Chris. It should be Jill. But Jill is hiding behind Chris. And of course, I replaced all of Jill's dialogue with Chris lines, so no one will ever know that this is Jill's hand.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm having to use so many sneaky little tricks to put this one scene together. In this bit, Chris gets poisoned, and normally Rebecca will come and save him, but in my story, it's Jill.
Chris!
Am I poisoned? Give me serum.
And once again, this is Jill standing in front of nothing, and Chris crouched in front of Rebecca, but she's been cropped out. Whenever I wanted to play as one of the non-playable characters, I had to change the character model using a GameShark code on the Deadly Silence version of the game. But the inventory screens all look different, so I had to create my own. I'm gonna create one for Barry. First of all, I want some Barry items like his magnum and some ammo. I have a scene where I want Jill to give Barry the crank, so they can do some team-up stuff. So here is some footage of Jill picking up the crank. And we're going to take those Barry items and place them in the screen. Make it the right size. We'll adjust the colour so it's about right. And now that's how I want it. But first, we need to replace the display picture from Jill to this devilishly handsome picture of Barry. Put it in place, resize it, and now just one more thing. We're going to equip Barry's magnum. And on my video editor, every single time I make an edit like this, I have to export the video into a file and then import the video again. So much messing around. But at the end of the day, it's all about results. And now we're going to import that into my main project. Hey, it's the beta snake. Yes, I even played through the beta versions of the game just so I can get some weird shots. I just wanted to throw everything into this LP. So there's our film of Barry getting the crank. And the last thing I want to do is clean up the edit with some fade-ins and fade-outs. And there you have it. A homemade Barry inventory screen. All that for 1 second of footage. Ah. Clap me down! That's better. Okay, this is getting serious. I think we should get out of here. Run! This is me playing as Richard, showing how he got poisoned, and there's the snake! Not massively serious, but what do you expect from one of my projects? I just cropped the snake out, and then I placed him in front of a green screen, so he can poke his head round the corner. Now here, we've got an obligatory sighting of Slendy. Blink and you'll miss it. And here, an evil mirror. Just watching Jill.
I'm Rebecca Chambers. I'm glad you're safe.
And of course, more split screen stuff, so I can show the two characters interacting. I had more fun with the inventory screens. For some reason, Jill has a copy of Resident Evil 1 and a PlayStation. I wanted to have nods to every single version of this game, including the unreleased Game Boy version. In my story, I wanted Rebecca and Barry to team up more.
Ha! It seems like this bulletproof jacket is pretty strong.
Rebecca!
I'm sorry. It may be dangerous. I'll go, even if I have to go by myself.
Okay, I had this really weird glitch where Barry turned tiny. I had to include it, it was funny. Remember at the end of Resident Evil 0 where Rebecca took Billy's dog tags? I decided to make a nod to that. She's still got them. And she's equipped with a first aid spray to attack people with. I even made reference to the unreleased Resident Evil 0.
Who are you?
Now this is a scene that nearly didn't make it into the LP. A last second edition, where Jill looks into the mirror and becomes a zombie. So here's her reflection, and there's her as a zombie. Just like in Resident Evil 3 Remake, it's gonna look like this. Wow! But then I decided that's rubbish. So I went back to the drawing board. Sadly, every single reflection in every mirror in the game is too small. You can barely see what I'm trying to do, so I took elements from this screen. I wanted the mirror frame and a piece of the wall. I was able to warp the mirror frame into this shape, and there we have it. I've created a first-person view of that mirror. Next, I want to show Jill close up. And there isn't too much going on in the background, so I can kind of get away with it. This was going to serve as my reflection, which I'm sure you can all agree looks a lot better. Then I did a bit of Photoshop and I turned Jill into a zombie. Again, I had to be careful not to make it look too detailed. It had to be consistent with the aesthetic of the game. And like in Resident Evil 3 Remake, I had Jill aim a gun at herself. So when it's all put together, the reference looks like this. Not bad. I kind of wish I changed the position of her hand holding the gun though. It's not a very comfortable way to shoot yourself in the head. And over here we've got more references to Resident Evil 3 Remake, Toy Uncle, the Funko Pops of 1998. And every single time I had two characters on screen at the same time, this is what I had to do. I needed Rebecca to run off screen, so I had her stand here by the door. Okay, get in position, and run! And run into the banister by mistake. Try again. Okay, get in position, and run! Go around the corner. Nice. Okay, now I need to do this again, but as Jill. So Jill stands here, she watches Rebecca run off, and oh no, start again, that steam got in the way. So, Jill watches Rebecca run away, camera's on Rebecca, then back to Jill, and she runs down the corridor. And altogether, it looks like this. This is it. Wesker's going to blow up the whole building. We're ending this game on a bang. This LP was full of things hidden in plain sight, such as this PlayStation, or maybe Wesker's poster which he put in the cell to taunt Chris, or keep him company. Wesker escapes midway through the Tyrant fight, so I needed him to disappear. I did get mixed response from people surprised I didn't just stick to the canon story. It was my initial idea. I had Chris poisoned by the snake and Rebecca carry the serum with her right up until the end of the game to save him. It would have been so easy to have Jill's ending with Chris and Barry splicing in footage of Rebecca, but in the end I abandoned the idea for something nobody has actually done before, something I think was way more interesting. Chris gets taken to the lab by Wesker. Let's actually make something of that idea. We have an operating table covered in blood. Let's use that. We've seen evidence of the tyrant, but no picture. Perhaps it hasn't been made yet. So the answer was obvious. Kill Chris. Wesker is going to mutate him into the end boss. Then, when Tyrant comes out and attacks Wesker, if Tyrant is Chris, and there's anything left of him in there, frankly, I don't blame him for killing Wesker. If I got kidnapped and mutated into a Tyrant, it would spoil my day. Possibly even my week. And when I can do something like that, with my own made-up scenario, something unexpected, it's hard to get excited about just sticking to the canon. One way you can look at it is there isn't actually a single ending you can get in the original Resident Evil that is canon. And now what you've all been waiting for, Chris Redfield, topless. With his weird square body shape, because I wanted to turn him into the Tyrant. But whose body is this? None other than Solid Snake. Thanks, Snake. Did it feel weird digitally undressing Chris? Yes, but I got over it. Here's his green vest. Can't have the Tyrant wearing it. That'd look silly. And for the final battle, I wanted Rebecca and Jill to fight the Tyrant together. The building's about to explode. We have a timer. This is all just raw footage. All I needed to do is record enough of it and try and splice it all together. I overlaid my own timer and I wanted it to end exactly when the building blows up. The mega happy epilogue. It seemed like quite a good idea. But look at this editing. It was rubbish. I was trying to do something a little too ambitious with what I had to work with, and it didn't quite turn out how I wanted it to. I considered booting up The Sims again, but the character models didn't quite look consistent with the ones from Resident Evil. I searched mods, but what I wanted didn't appear to be available to play at the moment. And I was even looking into messing with coding just to get what I needed. But that was way too complicated and basically resulted in nothing happening. The main issue is I wanted this very familiar scene, take all the damaged walls and overturned tables, and clean it up. Look at that, much nicer. Leon can have his party, an Oreo party. But unfortunately, the characters in the original footage were still standing on this damaged area, and I couldn't quite mask out the background properly. So it didn't really work. But I really wanted to get this posted before my 10-year special, so it had to do. I had this gag where Leon wanted stars, Jill gave him stars. So I took this Resident Evil 2 inventory screen, and then I replaced the items with some very important things which I think that Leon would have in a non-zombie outbreak situation. So altogether, it looks like this. Leon has 1067 Oreos, and also a Mr. Raccoon head. And this was the first playable demo of Resident Evil 2 in the UK. The first time I ever played it. I had some more welcome banners for Leon's party. I wanted some guests, so here's Marvin. And for those that don't know, all the Oreos in this scene are a reference to Nick Apostolides, the voice actor for Leon in Resident Evil 2 Remake, and his love of Oreos. And here are the other guests. I wanted to include lots of police officers and references to Resident Evil 1.5. We've got Elza, Regina from Dino Crisis, Sherry, and they all turned up to celebrate. Here's a Mr. Raccoon poster. The problem is, I'm there on the internet trying to search for half-decent images of these characters. Here's a mod somebody created. It's so hard to find any decent images of Brian Irons, who was also in the scene. I was trying to creatively make something using very little, and quite a lot of times you'll try out an idea and it just won't work. But then I discovered the Gary's Mod parody videos of a YouTuber called Bori4Elo, where they've created some really clever animations using ported character models from Resident Evil. And I didn't know if Gary's Mod would be user-friendly, but it's got to be easier than all the stuff I was trying to do before, so I bought it. Turns out, it's a little bit fiddly, but after you get used to it, it's not so bad. And it can be used as a very useful tool for creating interesting scenarios. Just like The Sims. Once again, I may not have the knowledge to competently mod a game, but I can certainly take advantage of the tools I have to edit together something interesting. This means that now I can George Lucas the scene and make it look how I intended it to look. So here's Leon's party with Brad, Robocop, and the Merchant. Leon, welcome to the RPD. This time I wanted more movement and detail.
You want stars? I'll give you stars.
So it plays out the exact same, Only this time we've got Rebecca shooting down an alien with a pulse rifle. You got Dogmeat, Solid Snake, Slender Man, Max from Life is Strange, Grey Fox, Raziel, a working Joe from Alien Isolation, a Genome Soldier, a nurse from Silent Hill, and various other characters from Resident Evil. With my happy ending, the virus didn't spread, and Leon got his party. However, people are requesting I do this treatment with Resident Evil 2 and 3. I could put any of those characters I wanted in front of a green screen and chroma key them into any one of these backgrounds. I honestly wish I thought to use Gary's mod before I started my Resident Evil Team Up LP. Just think of what I could have done. Just think of what I can do if I do Resident Evil 2 and 3. And remember, it's all a big what-if scenario. I don't have to stick to the canon, and with something like this, I can let my imagination go wild. Tell you what, here is a sneak peek.
Are you okay?
What's going on in this town?
It's been rough. But we can rest now. This way! Hurry!
Right.